And this is when I get the idea. Let me spend just 2 months building this thing. That's more than enough for a minimum viable product. 20 months later, I feel like there's a lesson here. Looking at my track record with this project, you'd be right to think that I'm either really bad at estimates or I'm a really bad developer. I like to think I'm a little bit of both. So here's the 2 months idea. I would make this desktop application that allows people to use social media less. I draft a fun little logo, think of a name for the thing, register a domain name, as you do, then go for a walk, enjoy the sights, order a shisha with my wife, meet some friends at a nice restaurant. But all this time I keep thinking about the product, about its features, and its trade-offs, and the 1,000 problems I'm going to have to solve over the next 60 days. But first, let me do the rational thing here and order a 3D printer for the logo. I just want to add some mass to this idea, to make it real, you know? It's like a nice little puzzle. A screw here, a connector or 3 there, add some filament, then start printing the thing. What started off as an idea is now a plastic toy on my desk. For lack of a better word, now it's real. Feeling like I made some progress, it's time to pet the local stray cat. Then, go for a visit at the local mall. Go to the cinema, grab some empty calories, and go watch a movie with my wife. Now that I've created the logo, let me show you my first proof of concept. It's a tiny desktop app that allows me to control some web pages indirectly. In this example, instead of manually scrolling through the page, I'm clicking a button. That button runs some magic and long-abandoned JavaScript code that actually makes the web page scroll. And here is where I'm showing this tiny function being run from an external context. Week 1 of development, and things are looking great. Now the UI is a little bit nicer, and we've got dark mode. Gotta have dark mode. The app is automatically scrolling through Twitter. Fast forward a couple of months and things are really cooking. I've added a button to authorize the app. You may have noticed that the interface now features a logging area, a timer, and a few more niceties. But more importantly, each script is now configurable. And if your eyes glazed over that wall of code, I share your instincts. This is not user-friendly at all. And this right here, this is the reason 2 months turned into 2 years. In order to make all of this user-friendly, I will need to rethink the app to its core. But the pieces are all there. As you can see, the script is fully interacting with the page, reading content, passing it to a large language model, and liking tweets based on user criteria. Things have now improved significantly. The app is called Oglama to reflect its open nature and the integrated Llama. No longer just a social media automation app, this is now a truly modern web automation tool. I've added user configurable settings and results. Logs can now be filtered by type and content. But most importantly, agents now have an editable source code. So if you're a developer building a module, you're going to touch a little bit of JavaScript. But if you're a casual user of the app, you're only going to interact with a nice, clean user interface, managing settings and filtering results. But at this point, I'm still not happy with the source code editor. Hundreds of improvements were made to the user interface and the user experience. The SDK has expanded to reach feature parity with all other UI testing tools out there and more. But more importantly, the source code editor now looks and feels like VS Code. The best way for me to show you how this works is to create a module right here, right now. So let's add an agent, create a module, install the module, and now let's edit its source code. Each module uses a finite state machine at its core. That's just a fancy way of saying start here, now go there, now go back. And so let me show you. Everything you need is available in the $sign object. So if you type $sign followed by a dot character, you get a list of all available methods. Let's say we want to log something. $.log starting. Now hit run. Done. So we're here in the start state. We can rename that to anything we like. Now let's move the script to another state called end. Return next end. Control or Command S to save. See how the IDE tells us that state does not exist yet. So let's click on the Add Missing Item button to fix this. Now we have two states, start and end. Let's log something in the end state and run the program. $.log final state. Hit run and let's look at the logs. We logged the strings correctly for the start state and the final state as expected. Using a finite state machine is really powerful when you need to automate complex user interfaces, but that's beyond the scope of this video. For now, let's just perform a simple Google search following this short example from the docs. First, let's visit Google. $.navload. And now, let's find that input field. If you're a JavaScript developer, then you're familiar with Chrome DevTools. Use the arrow tool to find the input. I see that it has a handy name of Q. Using the same Chrome DevTools, in the console, let me see if I can identify that element. Document dot query selector name equals Q. Yep, this is the element. And name equals Q is the CSS selector that we need. Going back to the source code editor, let's query for that element. $dot do query, do stands for document, name equals Q, and let's log the result. Long pressing Command or Control and hovering over a method shows its documentation. So $do query returns a string for a valid element or null on error. Hit run, and the result seems to be a valid string, so we found our input. That's great. Now let's do the magic command. $do type for our input, the string happiness, replace the current text and hit submit. Run, and there you have it. Every time you run the agent, it navigates to Google and searches for happiness. But let's extend this further. As your code grows, you'll find the need to organize it better and avoid repetition. Let's move the navigation to its own function. So remove this line and call $.fn visit Google instead. The end result is obviously the same, but now we can make the individual states much cleaner. Let's move the rest of the logic to its own function as well. A function called search or something, it doesn't matter. Great, let's check that everything still works as expected. And it does. And finally, let's make this more user-friendly. Instead of hard-coding the search term, let's ask the user for a phrase. Replace the string happiness with $.io, which stands for input-output, input string. Let's give that input string a name of search term. And now, let's make this even better for the user. Describe the term and set a maximum string length. All inputs are mandatory. Notice the blinking orange contour. So we need to specify a search term for this agent. Let's go with JavaScript. And now we can run the agent. Voila! That wasn't so hard, was it? One last thing that I want to show you is that you can easily import and export this module as a standard human-readable file. Or you can share it publicly with others by publishing it to the modules store. And that's why this 2 months project took me almost 2 years to build. Thank you for watching.